two big things first. We'll tell you what we're doing with people in here. See the emphasis over here. One in the back. Rest of the facilities are in the middle. There's an eye counter in there all the time. That's what we can do.
Thank you, Supervisor. For those who don't know, Supervisor had a very long, distinguished career in the Department of Public Works. So we really appreciate the town looking at the senior center here. We originally had planned on doing this at the library, and then we heard that we might get a bigger crowd and put the library. So the town graciously opened up the senior center, where the county has a tremendous amount of activities on an annual basis. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. So I just want to thank the town supervisory board for the senior center, and for all of you for being here today. As I present the town hall meeting, a number of things, including recent county investments that occurred here in Concord, Springville, as well as actions that are going on in the federal government and an impact on the county level. We have a lot of different commissioners and department heads from county government here. I'm not going to introduce all of them, we've got a few of them, but I do want to say if there is a specific issue that we have with regards to county government, we may be able to solve it tonight by having to talk to the department heads. So if you do have a particular issue that we're open this up to questions later, we may be discussing to step aside and talk to the department head to solve that particular issue. So the senior services, with our parks department. So I want to thank them for being here. We are going to have a question and answer Q&A session. 2 minutes per person. You're asked to sign in beforehand. So we have one list of individuals who will be speaking. We'll do that after my presentation on what I'm going to give right now. So once again, I just thank everyone for coming out. This is a Democratic government of Congress and the town meetings. We still hold a lot of them. And then COVID hit. And so I kind of stopped it. We do some minor ones, especially at senior centers in 2023. Always try to get senior centers and talk to the seniors about the issues. We haven't had a good big town hall meeting in a while. So this is the first one we pulled out on. It's on the Concord teams for all of us to be here. So first thing I want to talk about is American Rescue Plan. You probably heard a lot about the American Rescue Plan funding, especially as it pertains to the Buffalo news about the city of Buffalo and how that money was spent and how that money was spent to fill budget gaps. But I can proudly say that not a single penny of the American Rescue Plan funds were put towards any budget gaps in town government. Town government is financially strong, we're going to use fiscal surpluses, but we have what I like to say is once in a lifetime projects that we've been talking about. Under the American Rescue Plan rules, you had to have all of the money allocated under the contract by the end of 2024. You have until end of 2026 to spend it. And we had all of our contracts completed by the end of 2024. We decided our plan really early on, which has changed throughout here. It's not been exactly the same as the original thought it was going to be. But this plan is an important one because it touches so many areas. So when we look at the American Rescue Plan funding, it was basically broken out in different areas of the county, with the Department of Environment and Planning and Sewers receiving the largest amount of it, though equivalent that's spent in the Department of Environment and Planning and Sewers, as we'll talk about. Our commissioner of the Department of Environment and Planning Castle is back here, and Community Studio has been very busy implementing that, as well as our Parks Commission, Cory Shinzo is also back here. We put some amount of money in the parks. But there was $178.44 million that was given to Erie County as part of the American Rescue Plan. And you could use it to cover shortfalls in your budget. You could use it for water projects. You could use it for internet, broadband projects. You could use it for sewer projects. And then you could use it for pretty much any governmental purpose that you normally would spend money. And so we have it broken down in a number of areas here. And the big one, as I said, was environmental planning. And the vast majority of it went to the sewer districts. And that doesn't necessarily affect everybody out in Concord and Springdale, but it certainly does Hamburg and Clemens and other areas of the South Towns. Where we had some, as we'll talk about, very aging infrastructure, and that we had to repair. We were under consent decree from the EPA and the EDC, especially for the big plant that's in Woodlawn, which we'll talk briefly about, that we had to fix. And the nice thing about it is we didn't have to spend money on those plants. We didn't have to come out of our own pocketbooks. The ratepayers would have to pay for it from the sewer districts. But because of the American Rescue Plan, $64 million was obligated to the districts, and there's $56 million to be spent. Collection systems, pumping stations, treatment plants. We replaced nearly 60 miles of pipe, collection system pipe, across Erie County. Hundreds of manholes, lateral connections, that made up, as you see there, about $19 million. The pumping station upgrades, we had pumping stations that needed to be upgraded, partially because they were old and the equipment was failing, but when you're filling the sewers, that's not a good thing because you get leakages, and you don't want that stuff. So we did a pumping station changes at almost $9.5 million. Treatment plant upgrades, $35.7 million went to our treatment plants. $3.3 million at the Big Sister Creek facility in the town of Evans, right near Lent Beach and Bennett Beach Park. So if you ever see that sewage, kind of can't get in there, but if you see it, that's the Big Sister Creek water treatment facility. Lackawanna plant, $7.8 million. 1.1 for East Aurora, and there's also a lazy work that was done. But then the big one was the South Towns wastewater advanced treatment facility. We did massive work in there, $22.7 million. It is an interesting place. If you're ever interested in the tour, I'm sure we could set that up. It has a very distinct set. Most people don't like going on the tour. They talk to people who work there all the time, like, I don't know what you're talking about, I just know everything. But it's interesting. But you see this, in the picture here, there's a building that's in the middle there, that's brand new. That was built as part of the changes associated with the South Towns Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility Phase 1 upgrades. That had to be done. And the nice thing about it is we were able to use the Rescue Plan funds to do it. So technically, our folks were paying for it. The whole country did it as part of the American Rescue Plan. Then we did other water and sewer general updates. If you live in the town of Evans, you know about the new agricultural plant, the 87 Center Road. We built a water tower there, not only for the plant, but to assist the town because the water pressure was bad. It was paid for out of the American Rescue Plan. In Springdale, we got a picture of it later in the presentation. The North Central Avenue water main was replaced. Lancaster, Akron, Tonawanda, all had funding. And the Rural Outreach Center, we did work with them too, for the new facility out in Aurora. So if you know the Rural Outreach Center is not only on the road, but the water line and the sewers that paid for by the county as part of the American Rescue Plan. And then with the Department of Environment and Planning, they also are doing other projects that they're overseeing, but they're not directly related to county government, but that we've supported, including the Islandview Park enhancement project that starts this year, the Miracle League, which is a really incredible organization, assists very disabled children playing basically softball and other sports with their facility. We've invested $400,000 in two projects in the Concord parks, and the big one is the Botanical Gardens, which is going to be seeing a major renovation in the next couple of years, and $5 million. This is where it's going. Again, this is paid for by the federal government. The Botanical Gardens are owned by the people of Erie County. So we have a responsibility to maintain the infrastructure. And we do invest a significant amount of money at the Botanical Gardens. But the nice thing is we're able to use the American Rescue Plan funding to help pay for it. So that's $5 million that would have come out of the taxpayers from Erie County that we do not have to pay for ourselves. Now then there's affordable housing. You know, it's a huge issue across all of the nation. It's a big issue. And probably the driving issue with so many factors with regards to the economy is affordable housing. And so we invested $20 million in total in two major affordable housing projects. One, which is an infill, single-family home owner occupied, which is going to start construction actually in the next month, in Buffalo and Chickawawa. And we are looking for other locations potentially across Erie County. So that we build in areas that used to have homes that have been abandoned and pretty much leveled out, single-family homes to rebuild neighborhoods. So that's going to happen, and we're working with the city of Buffalo on their funding, using their funding too. So it's $13.5 million from Erie County and almost a like amount from the city of Buffalo to build affordable housing units across single-family homes, I should say, which are affordable across the county. And then we have $6.5 million, which are going into multifamily projects all across the county. And it's actually creating over 750 affordable housing units. So we use these funds to incentivize developers who may have wanted to build non-affordable housing, because they can make more money on it. But we said, you know what, we'll give you some money for affordable housing. We can do that under the American Rescue Plan funds, but they have to be affordable. You can't just flip it over 2 or 3 years from now into a very expensive apartment unit or condo. So there's strict requirements on how long they have to actually keep them affordable housing units. And there's 750 of them that are across all of Erie County. And we're really proud of that because we were questioning what we would be able to incentivize, and we found out we can incentivize a lot. Money incentivizes people to do things they might not normally do. And this is an example. ErieNet, you all heard about ErieNet. Jason Petty, the Boston Town Supervisors, part of the ErieNet board. It is close to being there. We're actually having a press conference next month in Boston. But we are laying over 40 miles of main cable between every municipality in Erie County, hooking up, as we'll show in the next slide, basically main centers, senior centers, town halls, fire stations, libraries, and then it's called the middle mile. It's not going to homes. But you cannot have a high-speed broadband system go to homes in an area where you don't have high-speed broadband in the first place. So we're laying the cable to put in high-speed broadband all across Erie County, with 40 miles of it. It's being paid for in full by the American Rescue Plan. And then final mile providers can tap into it. Now we know they will tap into it because they're already talking to us. But it happened in the southern tier. The southern tier counties and communities came together and built their own system. And lo and behold, the final mile providers came in and started hooking up the homes. They didn't want to build the main system. We're building the main system. Then they can tap into it, and then we make money off of it. So the goal is to make it a self-sustaining system. It's not a private-owned entity, so the goal is not to make a profit on it. It's only to make it self-sustaining. And the advantage of it also, it's competition. It's competition for Spectrum. It's competition for Verizon, which pick and choose Spectrum pretty much across Erie County. Verizon not. There's a lot of communities that do not have Verizon, including the city of Buffalo. So now we'll actually have competition in areas where it didn't exist before, which hopefully will drive down all overall prices. So ErieNet is being paid for 100% by the American Rescue Plan, and we're very proud that soon we will not only be finished with the system, we'll be lighting it, and then the town of Concord, the village of Springville are participating in it. All the major municipalities, all the towns are going to actually have wireless coming directly into their facilities at very low cost and save them money too, because they're not going to have to buy it from wherever they get their wireless. So we have our Parks Department. We're very proud of our Parks Department. As I said, our Parks Commissioner Troy Shins is in the back. We invested $13 million of American Rescue Plan funds in our parks, which includes all kinds of capital programs, expansions. Actually, we're doing work in the parks with the highways themselves, and the Went Beach project, which is a big one. Just right off the bat, $2.7 million in all kinds of projects across the parks. The great thing about our heritage parks is most of them were created during the Franklin Roosevelt era under the Works Progress Administration, the WPA. We would not have those great parks without the investment from the federal government then. It made sense to do our best to invest these federal funds to secure the future of these parks for many decades. So we were able to do more projects, even though we've been investing a lot of county money in the parks. We're able to do more projects and expensive ones that we might not have been able to do. Now, we're not that far away from Spragbrook Park. Spragbrook's a fairly new park, it's in good shape, so you're not going to see anything more about Spragbrook. But you'll see a lot about Chestnut, Ellicott, Homo Lake, Overcleve, Seneca Bluffs, Ackman Falls, Ellicott Creek, and then Chestnut Ridge. A lot of different types of projects. Just replacement of roofs on shelters and in buildings, new inclusive playgrounds, new ADA compliant walkways. One of the biggest problems we've had in the last few years is people like going to the parks and taking their family members who may be in a wheelchair. It's not always easy to get around. So, like in the top corner there, you see Chestnut Ridge Casino, and so they redid the concrete, so it's just a smooth roll in and out of the casino if you have somebody in a wheelchair. So things like that, which make it just a much more enjoyable experience for all. We did some really, we still have a lot going with Went. Went Beach is going to have more work done on it in the future as part of this funding. But we completed work on the Shank House. Most of you probably don't know what the Shank House is. It is the oldest standing stone building in the city of Buffalo. It's at Grover Cleveland Park. It was in pretty bad shape, and it was at risk of probably being torn down. But what we were able to do is to stabilize it, rebuild it, and see how good it looks on the inside now. It's going to be used as offices for the Parks Department, and we're going to open it up, the first floor, for like a Parks History Center. Our parks have some incredible history. We've got some great artifacts that date back 100 years. This is actually the first year of the Erie County Parks Commission opening up a park. Last year was officially the 100th anniversary of the creation of the Erie Parks Commission. This year is the first year in which they opened a park associated with the Erie County Parks Commission. So we have 100 years of parks, and we've got great artifacts. And so we turned the Shank House into offices for the Parks Department, as well as it's going to be pretty much a Parks History Center, which will be open to the public. And we were able to do that with American Rescue Plan. This is like one of those infomercials. It's like, but wait, we're not done yet. There's more. There's more in the parks. We did new parking lots at Chestnut Ridge and Went Beach, and we also, of course, make them ADA compliant. People wonder, well, why do you invest in parking? Well, when they fall apart, you get new parking lots. Nobody wants to live in a park and deal with those issues. The Public Works Department, we put a lot of money in the Public Works Department. We'll talk a little bit about each of these. I should say each of these, I don't get to every single one. But the Convention Center, we took that old dingy front convention center, we invested $4.5 million on a brand new frontage. Actually came in under budget, which is great, and it's already received national accolades. We're getting more tourism as a result of it, we're doing more conventions. When you had site selectors come and see the site, they just looked at it and they said, just sprucing up the front, rather than what we were looking at, which is building a new convention center, which is $400 million to sell this. So the convention center we invested in. We built a brand new highway barn. Does anybody know when the last new highway barn had been built in Erie County? Where it is?
I do, but I'm not telling.
Okay, Phil can. It was in the town of Aurora. The barn in Aurora, and it was built in the 1980s. We haven't built a new one since then. So we built a new one in the town of Lancaster. Replaces a facility that actually had closed. So we use the American Rescue Plan funds for that. And of course, we do roads. I think we all know about roads. We have put another $5 million of additional funds from American Rescue Plan funding into our projects. The one thing we have realized on roads, even if we have an infinite amount of money, we do not have an infinite amount of time to do roads because of our limits. There's so much that we can get done in a year. And so we've invested a lot. We invested $50 million in the announcing of 2025 program really soon. But we put another $5 million into a couple of years in various roads, projects. across the economy. So, American Rescue Plan, 100% of our American Rescue Plan funds that went to Erie County were obligated by the timeline, December 31st, 2024. So we do not have to worry about the federal government taking any money back. If you did not obligate it by then, you couldn't. The federal government is coming for your cash. It's a generational investment, once in a lifetime. We're not going to get an investment like this anytime soon. It's made a tremendous impact on projects across the county. I do want to thank President Biden as well as former Congressman Higgins because they were voting and supported the American Rescue Plan. Not every congressman did, but the president did, as well, of course, as former Congressman Higgins and members of the Erie County Legislature, the Erie County Sewer Board of District Managers for their support in these projects. That was a lot of projects covered in a short period of time, but the amount of effort that you have to do just to get one of these projects done is huge. So I want to thank everybody who played a role. So now that we're in Concord, Springfield, I want to talk about recent county investments in Springfield and Concord, above and beyond the roads, because most people know when we're doing a road. But they don't always know about the infrastructure money that the county puts in and the projects that the county supports. And this is just money that we're going to be talking about in the town of Concord, Village of Springfield. So $750,000 of the county's appropriated community development block grant funds was used for infrastructure for the big project on Franklin Street, which, if you remember what it was a highway, and now it really is a very nice and white area in the village green. So $750,000 went on all kinds of things associated with that project, working with the Village of Springfield. Of course, there's that new park in the village, or updated park, Heritage Park, the pickleball courts and other things associated with that park. That received $325,000 from communities, the county community development block grant funds. I see the supervisor of Boston's going to be jealous because he's seen all this and he's like, where's Boston? We also, there's additional community development block grant funds that went in for replacement of water lines, a couple of water lines, replacement of the water well. These are projects that would have been actually paid for by the village experts. The county contributed funds towards it. And I will note there's a community development block grant consortium which helps make these decisions, of which we spread the money around. We just don't all go to one community. We do spread the money around. The city of Buffalo is not included in that consortium. Town of Amherst is not. Town of Chickawaga is not, because they receive their own funds. For the county, working with 34 municipalities as a consortium, we decide where we're going to put this money. And these are all investments in the last few years. Where we are today, the Town of Concord Senior Center has received nearly $400,000 in investments from our community development block grant fund, and all kinds of stuff, from the original construction to installation of generator, backup generator, HVAC, the parking lot out there. There's a tremendous amount of improvements that have been a direct result of the community development block grant fund from the county. I want people to know that because I think it's important to realize that the county dollars are coming back into your communities. Sometimes people are, what are we getting for our county taxes? Well, this is the money coming back to. And this is like this across all of Erie County. We could do it in other communities and identify projects that have been done that will have just as much of an investment and impact in those communities. This is not all, but the first line is about 15 homeowners took advantage of our housing rehabilitation program for $240,000. It's good. They'll rehabilitate their homes if they're partially paid for it through the county CDBG funds. And there's $270,000 that goes annually into the rural transit, which is the van that's out there, the delivery service for especially seniors and those that need. That is always approved, and we will continue to approve that. One thing I'm concerned about is we are seeing funding cuts in the CDBG grant line. The budget that was just passed basically slashed the CDBG grant by the federal government by about half. We know we're going to get money, we just don't know exactly how much yet. That comes up soon enough. But we are concerned about that because that funding helps to pay for the projects. Other investments in Springville, Concord, we talked a little bit about this earlier, this is the north central water line in the village, $457,000 just to do the water line, a project that needed to be done, and it's paid for by the federal government, everyone across the United States. Something that we've been working on the last few years is municipal planning grants. We've been working with a lot of our local governments, actually every one of the local governments, except for Holland and Yolanda that you see here, that received a municipal planning grant since 2020. These are grants from the counties to go to the town or the village to assist them in planning their future. How are they going to grow as a community? How are they going to sustain as a community? These are direct grants from the county. We work through the Department of Environment Planning, and because we have technical assistance in the Department of Environment Planning, assist the community in the completion of the grant. That's something that you probably never heard of unless you're a supervisor or a town board member, but these are funds that the county provides. The Erie County Storefront Revitalization Program. We invested $15 million in total, with the grants of up to $40,000 per storefront. And we did, I think it's a total of 30. It's too small. So you'll see those little marks. We have 2 rounds of storefront revitalization. The 20 in the first round, 9 in the second, and you will see these grants that were provided to the owner. These are direct funds that went to the owner of the business to revitalize their storefront, to make it more appealing so that more people will come. There's a number of them that have occurred in Concord, Springville, and Slovenia, Collins, North Collins, Boston. This has been a great program. It's actually at the $15 million of the ones that are listed here. Some is the $1 million in the southeast part of Erie County. And we're very proud of what we've been able to do because we help businesses overcome the challenges that existed post-COVID. These are projects that brighten our communities. And when one business owner does it, the second business owner does it, and it makes other ones want to think about doing it. So we do the storefront revitalization program. The forest management plan, we have a big forest management plan. The draft plan is expected in fall of 2025. This of course matters in Concord and Boston primarily because in Sardinia, because those are the 3 areas that have the largest amount of forests. The county has forests. They were planted basically 100 years ago as part of the WPA process. And we are updating the forest management plan to ensure the future of that forest for another 100 years. We've invested in our forestry division just like we've invested in our parks. And we're coming up with a management plan. You can learn more about it. There's a website on there, but you can learn more about it on the county's website. And we are, of course, from the forest management plan, taking comments from the public as we go about this so that people understand that these are real forests. And we want people to play a role in ensuring their future. Erie County Ag and Farmland Protection Plan update, we do those. You're going to see quite a few of them that are listed with regards to the size of the farms and the agricultural issues. Draft plan is new ones coming out next month. It's updating the plan from 2012. It's huge in this issue, we know it. I was just talking supervisor earlier about issues in the town where some people want to put solar fields in what used to be farmland. And there are incentives to do that. There's money to be made on it when you take off farming. So this farm and agricultural protection plan update is moving along, and the draft plan will be coming out in April. And you can learn more about that at the Erie County Department of Environment Planning. We'll certainly have all the information on that. So if you are interested in it, see our commission will be back. Now, cultural funding. We provide significant amount of cultural funding on an annual basis in both operating and occasionally capital, and then we have special capital grants that we gave in 2023 and 24. This year we're going to be providing $8 million to over 110 organizations across Erie County to assist them with whatever their obligations are for arts and cultural institutions, historical institutions, And the best example of that are the ones I've listed here. We, of course, provide a $40,000 annual operating grant to the Springville Center for the Arts, top picture. We also provided a $500,000 capital grant as part of the cultural capital grant program to the Springville Center for the Arts to help them complete the new center, which is almost done, moving along very well. And then we've given smaller capital grants, but they make a huge difference to various organizations like the Historical Society, the Howland Historical Society, and then there's 2 capital grants that were given to the Sardinia Historical Society, and they converted that building over. It's gorgeous inside now. One of the oldest buildings actually still in Erie County, it goes back. So we were able to help them restore their main town hall, and what was the town hall, main facility. And those are all grants that have come out of general Erie County taxpayer dollars. Now I want to take a little change here to talk about this. Medicaid. Most people know that Medicaid is an important program that exists in the county, but they don't know always what it is, how much money is spent. I guarantee you I'll have it for you. Not the next one. Medicaid's a national program administered by Erie County at the local level, provides health insurance to those that are needy, seniors for nursing care. Medicare pays for seniors' health care, but nursing care, end-of-life care, hospice care, that's paid for by Medicaid. It's also a primary provider of health care for children, and it's determined based on financial eligibility. So this is as of 2023. Don't have the final 2024 numbers because we're still doing the file. But as of 2023, in Erie County, 342,001 residents were enrolled in Medicaid. It's comparable to 36.1% of our population. 29% of them were birth to 18, 59% were 21 to 64, and 12% were 65 and older. You see why this is an interesting difference, I should say, between wages and spend. How much do you think we spend in Medicaid as of 2023? $3 billion was spent in Erie County, between Erie County government and all the partners and all the entities that get paid for Medicaid in Erie County in 2022. And here's the thing I think that's most interesting. Look at the difference by age range, the average cost per person. Birth to 18, the average cost is only $3,751 a year. How much? 21 to 64, the average cost is $9,500 a year. Not a lot of money. But then at 65 and older is $18,086 is the average cost. I want you to remember this number. Now we're going to look at 14141. It's a little different. So, as of end of 23, there were 1,806 enrolled Medicaid recipients in the 14141 zip code. You can only do it by zip code. You can't do it by county. 521 of them are birth 18, 975 are 19 to 64, and only 144 of them are 65 and older. A total of $16.4 million is spent in 2023 for Medicaid recipients that live in the 14141 zip code. That's probably going to your doctors. That's probably going to Bertram Chafee Hospital and the nursing facility there. But look at the difference in the spend. The average for children in here is only $1,850. That's actually really good. Adults is about the same as the countywide average, $9,400. $9 million. Third, 3,553 is the average for birth to 9,728 is the average for 19 to 64. But look at the average that was spent in 2023 for those 144 people in the 14141 area code who were 65 and older. It was $35,000 a person. Anybody guess why? Medicaid is a program that pays for health care for poor and uninsured individuals, nursing and end-of-life care for seniors or anyone else who's in a nursing home. So if you do not have the means to pay for it, regardless of your age, nursing care is paid for by Medicaid. The vast majority of dollars are spent on adults, but it really is the specialized care, the nursing care, the hospice care that costs a lot of money. Medicaid is actually a pretty good program in managing the amount spent per person. The problem is some of these large cases are very, very expensive. So, if we can talk about cutting Medicaid, and we'll talk about it in a few slides as well. The only way to cut Medicaid substantially is to cut care for the infirm to the general hospital for adults. Because you're not going to save a whole lot by cutting a lot on children, and for that matter, adults. It's really the hospital stays and nursing home stays that cost a lot of money. So recent federal action impacting the county. We have received combined the city of Buffalo, Erie County, and the town of Village of Lancaster a $13.4 million U.S. Forest Service grant to fund a new county tree nursery. Plant trees in areas of low to no tree canopy, provide working opportunities for commercial people, educate the importance of living trees, and create new fruit tree orchards to fight hunger in the county. The food that we're going to pass out. On the policy that is received to equal domestic energy production and promoting people. I say what's wrong with the believe about stuff, I don't know how that affects energy production. This is one that we're talking the same thing about the new earlier, because it's a new one, it's kind of scary. Erie County since 1999 has received a HUD grant, Other Women Development, a continuum of care grant to assist the placement of severely mentally ill individuals in homes. It's basically a $5 million grant. We received about 400 people right now, there's 402 individuals already. In 2024, we applied for the grant, we were approved starting April 1st. There is a person working at home who says, yeah, you got the grant, we have no way to withdraw the funds. Boils down. We shut down the agreement. So, I have to make a decision. Am I going to have to take $5 million from somewhere else in the county to pay these landlords so that we do not have 388 severely mentally ill individuals walking around Erie County because they don't live there? So, I think we're going to end up trying to find a way to pay for it if we can't get federal dollars. This is the point. So, the grant's approved. Great. How can we get the money? We don't have it. So this is something that we're concerned about because I'm not going to let 388 people be out on the streets. And I can tell you, I can't tell you who people are, but I do know they are all across the county. They are everywhere. It's not the city of Buffalo. You may have seen that we filed suit for the Trump administration to refuse the funding of the senior volunteer program. It's not a big grant. It's the idea behind it. We were year 2 of a 3-year grant. It was canceled because it was said to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. The reason is that the highest college colleges is doing it. They have AI programs that search through various grant formulas and things that federal government have and look for special needs. And one of the words that was on our grant program was diverse, because we placed hundreds of volunteers in a diverse group of agencies countywide. And those ideas were sometimes hospitals to do. Not only could we not do that, and we do this, we had to certify that every one of the organizations that received funding from Erie County or placement of a volunteer also did that. This is silly. And we just held an RSVP luncheon at Erie College for those who donate more than 40 hours of time annually. They save the local organizations more than $1 million. We have a coordinator, an assistant coordinator that helps place these individuals, works with various organizations, including community centers, and some people criticize me, but I think in the middle of the second year, which basically like changing the rules in the football game. Unfortunately, we still have the bills. But this is the middle of the beginning when it comes to the grant. So we feel very confident that we will win this, but I didn't want to have to do it, but I did. The tariffs. Just a final thing on that. I feel confident we'll win. I'm an attorney. I know you don't always win every case. But if you don't fight, you win not. So the tariffs against Canada, we're very close to our friends in Southern Ontario and Canada. This is not just hurting Canada, it's hurting us locally, it's hurting our region. Vehicle crossings were down 13% from February. Our sales tax is down 7% from mid-February from 2024 numbers. We anticipated a growth of about 1.5%. So we're talking about an 8.5% switch. And this is important because every municipality shares in our sales tax. Roughly 50% of the local share, so the first 4% of the sales tax goes to New York State, and it's 4.75%. 52% of that is kept by Erie County. 48% is shared, I'm certain everyone knows, with the towns, the villages, the cities, and the school districts. So every time there's a decrease in the sales tax, it affects everyone. And we're seeing this decrease. We know that there's reduced visits going across the board. We know hotels are telling us they're getting cancellations from Canadians that are coming. But here's another example why the tariffs are just silly in my eyes. You know where the old Bethlehem Steel Complex is? It's called the Renaissance Mansion. There's a whole section of it that you can't see from the road, but sometimes you can glimpse it, especially from the road. And you'll see like stacks and stacks of lumber. It's an official, it's one of the few in the United States, but it's an official free trade zone. So if lumber comes in from Canada and it gets shipped anywhere else in the world, it doesn't get taxed, it doesn't get tariffed. If it comes into the United States, previously it didn't get taxed, it didn't get tariffed. As soon as it leaves that free trade zone and goes to a distributor to eventually end up at a Home Depot or some other site, it now has a 25% tariff on it. 50% of all of the softwood that is used in the eastern part of the United States comes from Canada. Who's going to pay for those tariffs? We're not. And the only good thing we got in the county is we got our own forest, so we can cut our own wood, but it doesn't work good for construction. And we do have a really cool sawmill there, which we had an open house this past weekend. But these are the things that are happening. So I don't have it in the PowerPoint. You may have seen that yesterday I joined with 7 colleagues in local government, 4 in Canada, 3 in the United States, to form what we're calling the Niagara 8. It's the highest elected official in the major municipalities of Southern Ontario and Western to send a message, send a letter out to our federal officials how this trade war, these tariffs are not helping anyone. If you look at the history of tariffs and trade wars, nobody wins in a trade war. The last big tariff trade war we had was the McKinley tariffs of 1890. And in 1892, McKinley, who was then a congressman, 1890. He was the proponent of the tariffs. And the tariffs were so ill-received that he was in Congress, he lost his seat, and the entire Republicans got swept and knocked out of the majority. Because it hurt consumers. We really haven't had trade wars, at least like that, with our biggest allies in a long time. So I think it's going to take some time. We're seeing it first because we are right on the border, but the rest of the country is going to see it. The tariffs are not helping us. They're not helping our economy, and right now they're hurting our sales tax. They're hurting our hotel tax revenues, which I'm hoping to turn around, but if they don't, then they have a negative impact. You may have seen that there are cuts that have been announced to research in UV and Roswell Park. UV is expecting to lose $47 million in National Institute of Health over the next 3 to 5 years, and Roswell Park could lose $12 million annually. That's research. It's not necessarily pointing towards the day-to-day functions of it, but the research that goes into cancer treatments and other things. Now, medically, talk about Medicaid earlier. It will be cut. It hasn't been cut yet, but it will be cut. Because The recently passed budget in Congress requires the committee that oversees Medicaid to find $880 billion of cuts over a 10-year period, so $88 billion in it oversees other programs in Medicaid. But if it cut every other program it oversees, it would only come up with 40% of the cuts that it needs to meet that $88 billion annually. So it will be cutting Medicaid. We just don't know how much and to what effect. The Kaiser Family Foundation did an analysis of the potential cuts if it was all in Medicaid alone. So I use Kaiser Family Foundation because they're nonpartisan, they're very well respected. And with the National Association of Counties, which we do with Democrats and Republicans, we like to work with the Kaiser Family Foundation because they have their favorites. They're saying that the equivalent, you'd have to cut 76% of all the nation's children to come up with $88 billion. Or 38% of adults, or senior people with disabilities, 18%. And that goes to show you the right money. So if you're going to cut Medicaid, you're going to have to cut some. And it's going to come from people. It will come from individuals. Now, one final thing on impact with social service cuts or social security cuts. Right now, as I'm telling now, Social Security has been cut. However, you may have heard that there are mass layoffs, especially with call centers, for Social Security. They're trying to get everyone to do one of two things when you have a problem with Social Security. You either go to the local Social Security help center, which there is one in West Seneca, or you do it online. Now, I know a lot of seniors who are not computer savvy, so they'll not be able to call on the phone anymore and talk to anybody about a problem with their Social Security. So what they're doing is a backdoor cut to Social Security. They're not cutting people as of yet. They're cutting the service that people rely on. So if you live in Concord or Springville, you're either going to have to do it online, which we know is not always fun to do, or you're going to have to go to the convenience center in West Seneca to have your question answered about what's happening with your Social Security issue. And I included on here two not well known as being liberal organizations, Fortune and the Wall Street Journal, on their stories about what DOGE is doing and how dealing with Social Security is heading from bad to worse. That's the title of the last few things. We don't know what the integrated impact is yet, but it's going to be. And I just want to say that Social Security is a program that every one of us puts into, all entitled to. I don't know what the future is going to bring with the program, but I'm very concerned that there are cuts on the horizon that will impact, if not immediate retirees, others who may be planning on retiring in the next 10 years, thinking they're going to have Social Security at a point, maybe it's not going to be there, or they're going to say, no, we're going to move to Social Security retirement age. And if I may take as a point of personal privilege, why are they doing these cuts? There's only one reason why they're doing these cuts. To pay for a continuation of the tax breaks that went to the wealthiest people in our country. This is so Elon Musk can continue to get the tax break. It is the only reason. You can adjust the budget. I was the county controller. I was that watchdog. I'm all in favor of going after waste Medicaid and waste and fraud in Medicaid. That's why we have a Medicaid Inspector General, Michael Zuccalo, who's here, who goes after provider fraud. I'm all in favor of going after waste, fraud, and abuse. But what they're doing is not going after waste, fraud, and abuse. They're going after the core programs to basically give a tax break to the wealthiest Americans. And that's not right, because we're all going to pay for it. And I guarantee you, there's no one in this room who's doing it. If you are, congratulations, but that's what's happening. So we have first off, I want to thank you all for coming. And we're going to open up the questions, and if I can answer it, I'll answer it. I'm not going to get into debate on particular issues, but we are going to ask you, we're going to call you up, we're going to ask you to come up here. We have a microphone, and you can ask the next question there. We can't go too far away because of the hardwired directly into the speaker. But I really appreciate y'all coming. I look forward to the questions. If I can answer them, I will. If we can't answer them, we'll try to get back with you. And I hope this is a nice little discussion about county government and what's going on in our country today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to David Bojanowski from my office, who has the list of the individuals who signed the UTS.
Hi, everybody. Hear me okay?
2 minutes to speak. You're going to hear a ding at the end of that 2 minutes. We're going to keep it pretty strict here because we have a number of folks to get to. First up, we have Leah, who comes right up here at the center.
Okay, just a couple of questions. Does ADA compliant fall under DEI? And then my second question is, I'm president of the Sardinia Historical Society, which you've given us some very nice grants. Thank you very much. It's looking beautiful right now. We'll open in May. And I didn't quite see what is happening with those kind of grants for parks, and I guess I understood the American Rescue Plan and things like that, and how that budget was broken down. But what do you foresee for the future? So the ADA, under DEI, what do you see for cultural grants?
Thank you for being here. Well, first off, we had a separate fund that we created for the Erie Cultural Grant Program that was swept by the legislature and spent on various other programs, including not-for-profits and organizations like that. We don't have any money set aside right now in a large fund for arts and cultural institutions, the capital grants we might consider in the future. Every year, we have a specialized capital project committee, which meets to approve potential projects for the county, as well as for arts and cultural institutions or others that would qualify or not-for-profits. We will be going forth with that process again. So if any smaller arts and cultural institution wanted to apply, they could. I suggest you talk to the Erie Planning Commission, Dan Castle, and back very much if you give you the information. So if you wanted to apply for an annual capital grant for the county, we have that process. Now, ADA and DEI, that's a good question. We don't know yet. We don't know if Disabilities and Americans with Disabilities Act issues apply to DEI. I really can't answer that question. We'll find out. I mean, the Americans with Disabilities Act exists, so we have to follow the Americans with Disabilities. Do disabled individuals, are they included as part of DEI? In county government as we treat it now, yes, but I don't know how that will apply with regards to federal grants.
Okay, next up we have Mary Carroll.
Hi, my name is actually Mary Carroll. Thank you, Mr. Poloncarz, for being here. I'm explaining a question. It's more of a comment, but you really covered most of what I wanted to say when you say it. So I want to thank you for coming to our community and thank you for all of your past support. Most recently, the Springville Center for the Arts was the recipient of an Erie County Cultural Grant, which helped, as you know, in the renovation of their theater and art space. A vibrant art community really helps to make Springville the great place it is to live. Our community depends on and thrives when partnerships with all levels of government remain strong. That is why cuts at the federal level are so threatening to rural communities like Springville. So much that we value here. Our farms and our agriculture, our nearby parks and our green spaces, on historic Main Street, our public services, such as the Bertram Chafee Hospital, the school system, and the Halbert Library. All of these are facing threats under the current administration in Washington. Whether these threats are immediate or in the near future, as state and county budgets are impacted. As a county executive, I would ask that you continue to advocate for the village of Springville, the town of Concord, and all of the towns in southern Erie County. And I guess I do have one question. I live on Genesee Road, and it really needs to be repaved.
I know we need a part of Genesee Road. We're always, it seems like, doing Genesee Road. Like we're always doing Zor Valley Road. True story, Zor Valley Road is built on it's basically part of the riverbed. And so it is not a stable ground. Zor Valley Road, as long as it exists, will always be falling apart. There's actually been a discussion about buying the properties down there and just opening it up as a partial dirt road. Because it will never, ever be a stable road because it's built basically on the riverbed. Thank you. So I'll talk to you for a month. I'll do that with the
Next up, we have Gerald A.
Thank you, Senator, for the Poloncarz, and I really want to thank the town, Phil, and this group for really supporting our community, because we would have this fight for Parsi out of the Concord, that's why I wanted to say that. I was born and raised on Latham Street, and the really big news is that when I grew up, my boys, they were going to be able to live the last 50 years. They would come back to the east side, sometimes with parents and cousins, and they rode a bicycle every day. And we were very hard, big community for that. The people still exist today, except for the people. Buffalo Street, from the rail trail to the county park. Anybody that wants to travel as a pedestrian or bike on has deep with 45 kilometers. That's the city. I went to school through the school, worked at the truck farm, that's the way, there's always the next thing I'd like to do is the pilot. I work on it, I don't have controversy over it. However it goes, what I'd like to do is how to do it. To you and the band, in the office and the other companies, then only get the time to work on the conference and work on it. And we can easily have that if the band was room for it. Continue to be able to see 34/7, the reality is that that would be a world-class destination. How can that be? Here, we're talking about Colorado County, and how the rally, which is the 12-month recreation. I know that rail trail again. So those are the things that I see.
So thank you, Jerry and I talked earlier. I'll talk a little bit about Scobie Dam because everyone's been waiting for this project, and it's really kind of in limbo right now because number one, we're concerned about the funding that we've been getting out of years. But the DC has come back and said that we do additional changes. Now we're saying we may have to acquire 40?
Oh, like 60 properties, yeah.
60 properties downstream, including most of them in Colorado County, because of the flooding that will result. The idea is to lower the dam. We have a fish ladder to allow the good fish to go through, not the ones that are already in the but right now we're kind of at a limit, so we gotta figure that out. We are sort of under a consent decree from DEC to do it. We may lose on money from the Army Corps of Engineers, and the project is getting much more expensive because every project is more expensive. We did look at repowering, and what we realized is it would not generate enough power to justify the expense of doing it and then putting in new lines and everything associated with that. So it once was a power generation dam, it's not anymore. We did look at potentially repowering it, it's not sure how it works. It just doesn't seem to work. I know there's what you recommended then. We still don't have anything. I'll look at it.
Next up, we have Andrea P.
Thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate the fact that you can actually be up this conversation. And my question is mostly about the hospital here, and with all of the cuts that are happening, obviously to Medicaid, there's an awful lot of internal operation that is serviced by that hospital. And I'm also concerned that Parenthood, that has been cut today, that's been used an awful lot today, but even if it isn't something as direct as Medicaid that is being cut, like, what are the chances that hospitals can save?
Well, I can't give you an answer to that because I don't know the answer. And it would be silly for me to say we're sitting today and say, oh, let's stay open more than this. What we're seeing, the Medicaid committee, the committee that oversees Medicaid, also oversees a lot of other things in health. So they don't come from Medicaid, they have to come from other things in health, including hospitals. The big issue I'm very worried about also is called intergovernmental transfer payments to public hospitals that assist in hospitals that have a high level of indigent care, individuals who cannot afford to pay for it out of private insurance. They're talking about eliminating that program. If they eliminate that program, that will immediately create $80 to $100 million hole in ECMC. The agreement that spun off ECMC says if ECMC makes money, the county doesn't have to give it anyway. If ECMC loses money, we have to make up the loss. It's a $100 million loss, then we technically would be on the hook for $100 million. We already give it a lot of money anyway. Hospitals are going to feel some pain if those cuts go through as what's sort of expected. But we don't know. And that's why it was disingenuous for some of the congressional representatives to say, we're not cutting Medicaid, we didn't cut Medicaid. Well, they didn't cut Medicaid, but they're going to cut Medicaid. And they're going to cut a lot of these areas. So Elon Musk may not care about it, but I think it matters for Ocean Safety Hospital. It matters for the hospital in Concord. It matters for these small hospitals like Erie that are just getting by. They're barely getting by. And I think none of us want to see these hospitals closed because, first off, they're needed for so many different reasons, but you want to have a community hospital. You want to have a place where if there's an emergency, you don't have to get on the 219 and be taken in an ambulance a half hour, 40 minutes north, or constantly having mercy flight fly back and forth. You want to be able to go to the community hospital. And that hospital serves people not just in Erie County, it serves in Cattaraugus County, it serves in Wyoming County. So I wish I could give you an answer to that question, I can't. But I think it's important and incumbent upon all of you to advocate with your congressional representatives to let them know you do not want to see cuts that are going to harm the hospital.
Next up, we have Roger W.
Hi, thank you for showing. I appreciate that. Given the topic was point for democracy, congressional representative. This might be for your parks commissioner, if he's here, or she is here. All right, right there. Is there a hierarchy involved in budgetary allotments for parks? Because regular, I think everyone might agree with me. It's just a hidden gem, and upkeep is fantastic. I just don't want to see that go away as we move on, given the federal trigger.
Well, thank you for saying that. Our park system is incredible. We've got all these jewels. Sprague River is a hidden gem. Going there in the summer, cross country ski, and it's free. You don't have to pay. There's not so much a hierarchy. It's based on the size of the park and the usage. So, of course, Chestnut Ridge has probably got the most staff and the most investment. But to give you an idea of the size of Chestnut Ridge, it's 1,200 acres. All right? 1231. You could fit every single Olmsted Park in the city of Buffalo. Delaware Park, Cass, South Park, Riverside, Martin Luther King Park, in Chestnut Ridge, and you still have an extra 200 acres. It's that big. And then we have the forest land, thousands of acres. And all these other types of parks that we talked about, Sprague Brook, Coleman, and so forth. So it's not so much a priority, it's based on the size of the park and usage. How many people does it take to maintain the park? And when I came in as county executive, the parks were decimated. They were cut to the bone. And we reinvested in it because it's one of the things that makes that quality of life as great in this community. I hear it across the board, brother. Thank you. Whether it's in Northtown or Southtown. In the 1930s, this is like a forest. There were not forests for the Erie County Forest Service. It was actually farmland. And the individuals back then said that were in the Erie County Parks Commission and the elected officials and others were like, we're going to invest and put forest land, thousands of acres of forest. We're not going to see the benefit for 20 to 30 years, but the future generations will benefit. And that's how I view our parks. These are legacy projects of the past and they're legacy projects of today, where the investments we make not only benefit us, but they benefit future generations. And then hopefully they look back and they say, I really appreciate what they did 50 years ago so that I can still enjoy Stratford Park. I can enjoy specialization. I can enjoy areas like our forest. Because if we don't do that, we just let it go to waste, then what have we done? We've ruined part of what makes our community great.
Okay, next up is George W. George W.
Okay, thank you, Mark, for giving us an opportunity to ask you questions, and I appreciate that very much. With all due respect, we in the audience here, probably most of us, hopefully all of us, have paid our taxes, our county taxes. Is that correct? Okay. Some of us had some difficult decisions to make in order to pay the taxes we went out with without something else. Is that correct? Okay. The question is, for you, Mark, with all due respect, paying that money caused us to make difficult decisions. Why did the county spend resources paying for housing for illegal immigrants? We have no question. I know that I personally hosted people from almost every country in the world. Last two were from Israel, were from Gaza Strip, and everybody we met, they were good, just like us, just like you and I. We love them. But these are people coming into the country illegally. And that's what I have to believe. If you come into the country, we sponsored one woman from Moldova who came into this country. We sponsored her. 6 years later, she got her citizenship. We attended the judge up there. We have nothing against immigrants. We have something against illegal immigrants because they take our resources away. So, thank you very much. Hopefully you answered that question.
Thank you for listening. I do want to say something else. The county did not pay bond for the housing associated with the individuals that were put into hotels. It was paid for by New York City. The county provided our Department of Health did checkups on individuals, and if they did not have their shots, they gave them their shots. But we did not actually pay any county-wise housing for the individuals. It's all paid for by New York City. We do pay annually a significant amount of money to house our own homeless. Like individuals that are in hotels in Hamburg, those are not undocumented immigrants. They're not even immigrants. Those are just county residents who are homeless. One of the reasons why we're investing money in affordable housing is because of the lack of housing to fit the need in our community. And so I think it's important to understand that we spend millions of dollars annually on housing individuals, but none of them are undocumented immigrants. They are individuals who are residents, or they qualify under the program that you talked about with the other individuals that came illegally and they were refugee status. So we do have some housing programs associated with that, but those are all individuals who came in through the legal process and are in refugee status. The undocumented individuals that are at hotels, cheaper on the campus, there wasn't a dime spent by Erie County on that. It was New York City.
It would be important to go over some courts and the people that would work in the system.
Well, I don't want to debate, but under the rules, we cannot provide an individual who's in the country legally and documented the services. There's only one situation in which they qualify for service. If they are in an emergency situation where they're taken to a hospital and they've got an emergency surgery. So then anyone, regardless of their immigration status, the federal government can Medicaid will pay. Other than that, they're not. We have a lot of refugee programs that we work with Jewish Family Services, International Institute, organizations like that, Ernie's on where the county does provide assistance and funding, those individuals come through the process.
All right, we're gonna move on to Dave F.
I'm mostly just actually, not here to turn me down, photo back and forth. It's supposed to work for voters and like it was, right? Okay, well, I had 2,000 plus, I had 200 people voting that bought the city budget. They would exist, I see. How do you vote for us?
Well, first off, early on during the strike, I announced, I hope you can know, I said it's important that we protect the safety of everybody in the facility. The corrections officers, the support staff, as well as the employees. I'm really worried right now about the closure of the Collins facility. I'm really worried that Collins is going to be closed. Because during the strike, when they moved the inmates out, they moved them to other facilities. And the Assembly and the Senate they basically come out with a plan saying they got to close 5 more facilities statewide. They showed that they could close this facility because they moved the inmates. So right now, I'm dealing with our friends in Albany to try to keep that facility open. I know this is a hot button issue. The strike was settled. Some people don't feel it was settled. But the problem is, as I think we all know, under the table law in New York State, public officials, public staff cannot go on strike. You disagree whether it was a legal strike or not. The governor does have the power to do that. It's my understanding that any corrections officer who lost his job is now barred from position in New York State, and it's going to expire on April 1st. You receive notice that it will expire on April 1st. If you're one of those individuals, you'll be able to apply for a job with the government. Qualified, they could hire you. I look at it this way. I mean, I am an attorney, and I talk to some of the individuals that are involved in the strike. As much as people might not believe it, the best friend the corrections officers had out of the big 3, the Assembly Speaker, the Majority Leader of the Senate, and the Governor, is actually the Governor. You don't believe it. The Assembly and Senate, when I was down in Albany and so forth, they're not going to change the Hawker. So I know people don't want to hear it, they don't want to believe it, and you can be angry at the governor. I understand that. But what I heard from when I was in the halls of the Capitol talking to the Assembly members and Senators, is the New York City delegation from Brooklyn, from Manhattan, from the Bronx, they were not going to amend the Hawker. And they were not going to make any changes. I think at this point, what we've received is at least an advisory from the state that we will not put other people in making other governments. So for our other positions that you'd like to apply for, I suggest apply with the governments and the nations for individuals qualified. No other.
Well, I understand.
I'll say this, but right now I'm focused on trying to keep the Collins State facility. I'm very worried, especially after the closure of the non-wanted facility, that they're going to close Collins, which means not only the corrections officers who are back on the job will lose their job, or be moved elsewhere, but the support staff will lose their jobs. And that will have a detrimental impact for that part of Southern New York County, because it is still one of the largest employers for the individuals in that part of the county. So right now, my focus is trying to keep the Collins facility open. And I'm very concerned, because once they move the inmates out, they're gone. They realize they don't need that facility anymore when the budget that's been put forth by the Assembly and the Senate calls for the closure of 5 more facilities.
Why bother to keep it open?
So we're gonna move on, okay? We got a number of people to get to, thank you. We're gonna move on to Sean G.
two questions about, I coached hockey. I coached about 12 to 15 years. And as a coach, you gotta let them go to the stick, but there were times I didn't trust them. And I personally believe that while there are probably some that are mentally ready to hunt, you know, I saw we did a lot of stuff for 13 years in Chicago. Now, that's my personal decision. And as a county executive, I had the ability to say that, well, I did. It was not overrated because there were other members of the legislature, not enough of them that were like, do it. If they did, it would pass. That's democracy. That's the rule of law. And I would have a big role. If the state passes it and it becomes law, then it's law. I'm not going to sit here and out and say, ooh, I can't, let's stop the way we do it. But my own personal feeling is I did not believe that coaching for many years in hockey, 12 and 13-year-old boys were ready to hunt. And I come from a family of hunters. I do not hunt this. But it was my decision. It is. And that's part of what democracy is.
And you're saying I'm not an effective father.
No, I'm not
able to
saying.
raise my children.
It was my own personal feeling after dealing with, also, not personally either, but watching fathers. I remember a father with a kid who had a terrible concussion. I refused to go back in the game. Bad concussion. And the father came and screamed at me and said, put my kid back in the game. And I said, I'm not going to put him back in the game. He doesn't even know his last name. That is not your issue, but that is something I saw. And that's one of the reasons why I did that. And I will never forget that conversation because his mother came up to me afterwards and said, hey, you cannot put him in. And then he was gone for 6 weeks. He lost the remainder of the season because he suffered a 13.
There hasn't been one
All right,
problem.
we're gonna move on. Ron C. is next. Well, I'm the landlord, so right now we got about 100 units and about 40 units in the present market. Pretty much in broken time, 2019, I've been in credit control, so assembly, and governor's office, that's for which it has made the process from 1 month to now upwards of 4. But if that beat is in the building, they're disrupting the building, they're disrupting the neighborhood, as far as making bad tenants out of good tenants, encouraging people not to go to safe. And I have talked to my son and Bristol people, use an awful lot of language, whether I didn't learn from the damn business school. I don't care. She deserves it. It's got nothing to do with Trump or Tesla, it's just got common sense legislation. I appreciate it, for the top dog like you in the county and all you other Democrats would say a little something to these people in the Senate and the Assembly that's been involved. Standing up to the crazy radical communists from New York City, so be it. But I'm not gonna keep my $12 million invested in the county if I gotta keep the public this to get this. Total respect of this 2019 law disaster. There's a lot of members that we work hard and that's the direction. I think the law is gone. I think we can get rid of work next time. I can stay home in my fancy house and lay on my couch. It's up to you guys, but this law has to go. And the Assembly and Senators are not doing the best. Thank you.
It is a state issue, something we see in continental law, we deal with landlords, but we also have programs to assist individuals who are behind in rent, not everybody qualifies, and it is a problem, I agree. Not a fast process to fix something, unfortunately, often can be damage to the place. Physical damage as well as you know, financial damage to yourself. It is a state issue that you are going to get every state kind of connections.
All right, we're going to move on to Ian W. Moving on to Brian N.
I'd like to have this out tonight. From the town of Aurora, I have a couple of questions for you. I think a lot of what you talked about tonight is kind of a pause. Speaking of pauses, we're going to pause, put the executive order that you put forward that we're kind of opposed to with the correction officer and the hiring. And really, my question for you is, what's up with the pause? And the second question is, what was your rationale to execute the executive order that you did for Erie County, villages, towns, not to be able to hire a corrections officer? Because in Rolla, if we had an opening, we would have hired you yesterday. So I'd like to know what your rationale for that was. And second, we have a town hall tomorrow in Rolla. And then a person would like to come out and join us. And we're going to be put forth a resolution opposing the executive order. Thank you.
As much as people will find this hard to believe, I do not know that that number it happens. So when I found out and we talked it over, we realized two things in the court cases, and we were hearing that the state was going to lift the policy, or lift the prohibition effective April 9th. Now we'll see the number in the state saying the government can hire effective April 9th, an individual. The problem would have been is if the government hired an individual, the state could come back and say no, and they could immediately pull them out of the system, stop them from accumulating retirement pension. It's not going to be effective as of April 9th. The government can hire them. And I believe the personnel office will be sending an update very soon. I see our personnel commissioner, Brian Gray's back there, shaking his head. But they'll be sending it to all the affiliated units that use the Erie County Personnel Office for their issues, services. So if the person qualifies, you can hire them effectively April 9th.
All right, moving on to Julie F.
My question's been answered.
Thank you. Next on the list here is Sue F.
I look at the libraries as the art center, things, center, community. Everyone uses it, everyone uses it. And it's just an opportunity to grow communities too, because if you're looking at businesses, when site selectors are looking at locations, they want to know that there are good schools, that there are good public libraries, that there are good parks. And they're going to move to communities that have it. So we're always going to be, as long as I'm county executive, but you know, we're going to continue to invest in our libraries.
All right, up last here we have Peter H.
So much to say. Can't even start. We pray for everybody here in Springville and Concord. We pray for everybody in the county. We pray for everybody in the state. We pray for everybody in the country. We pray for the men and women, corrections, who are being wrongfully removed from their jobs and functional positions. We address that at this point. We pray for all the people who are forced to be alone in senior facilities for 2.5 years in Erie County because of you, who died alone with no one. And we pray for all the people that you fired and didn't allow to even crack down on these things, including the healthcare. enforcement in our community. We pray for everybody that has been injured or killed by the young man, Gene Farragon, that you forced on people. And we have a house and said, we didn't do anything. You forced that on people. You made it. And the homeless also did what we did. We pray for everybody who be crippled with anxiety, living in their home, fearful and property taxes that they can't afford, all while you are paying for leaders and supporting our leaders coming into our community. Are you aware that you're being investigated by the FBI and the DOJ for the crimes committed during COVID, as well as U.S. Code, 8 U.S. Code, Statute 1324, which covers bringing in and harboring certain aliens and outlines the criminal penalties for knowingly transporting, harboring, or encouraging illegal entry of non-citizens into the country, including situations where a legal alien is allowed to commit
Thank you for your courage. I think it's the last question.
Hey, make sure you keep carrying the Constitution.
Actually, I'm going to take it.
So you can run this one, please.
Hey, Mark, why
Sir.
don't you talk after?
Peter, thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. That's the thing about democracy, beauty of it is you actually have.
It's a constitutional republic.
I wanted to finish with one final thing before we go. And thank you all for attending. But a lot of people don't believe this. When it comes to your county taxes, county tax rate in Erie County is the lowest in every county in Western New York. People like to complain about taxes, but the tax rate in Erie County per thousand is the lowest of every county. And this is not to denigrate the other counties. We hear a lot of questions about Erie County, and people say Erie County is so expensive, the taxes. When it comes to the county services that are provided, the lowest is actually, it's not as close. So I just want to leave that out there, because we talked about all the things that we've been doing, and we do it very economically. I'm glad that more interested to get that information from our team, but I did want to share that because we did talk about taxes too. But I appreciate everyone coming. I want to thank the supervisor, the town board here for opening up your senior center. Supervisor Joseph is still here. You were right, we needed a bigger facility from what we originally were going to be.
I've been trying to tell you that stuff like that for
Yeah,
years.
you're right.
No, he's not.
And I really do appreciate y'all coming and taking time out on the night, and else. And this is how it's supposed to be. If you have any questions associated with my office, you can always call us at 358-8500, 858-8500. And we'll be glad to get back with you with any further updates. If you have particulars associated with a department or so, you can talk to some of the commissioners over here. Just thank you for coming out. I greatly appreciate it. It is my privilege to serve as your county executive. I don't take it lightly. It is a privilege. It is an honor to serve on board. It's not something that's really great for people. We've had some difficult times in our community. We've had some trying times in our community. The last term I had was part-time, shooting, bigger, but one thing I can be very proud of is the community, all of us, and rallying together. Thank you for being here.